Audio check.
Close weekend. We could start. Mr. Dempsey, are you ready, sir? See? Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to those of you who are watching online. Just a reminder to the public that if you would like to address the board this evening during open forum, go ahead and fill out one of the yellow forms that are out there in the round table and submit it to Mary Lou Delgado, our administrative assistant. With that being said, I now call this regular school board meeting for Gadsden Independent School District to order. Today is Thursday, August the 8th. The time is 5:04 p.m. Ms. Delgado, can you please take roll call? Thank you.
Ms. Flores?
Present.
Mr. Lira? Ms. Murillo?
Present.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Present.
Madam President, we have established quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the salute to the New Mexico flag. Vice President Rodriguez, can you please read our mission statement?
The Gadsden Independent School District will provide diverse educational opportunities that empower students to be successful in an ever-changing world. El Distrito Escolar Independiente de Gadsden brindará diversas oportunidades educativas que capacitarán a los estudiantes para tener éxito en un mundo cambiante.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Moving on to item 3 on the agenda is Superintendent Dempsey's district updates and recognition. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, thank you for joining us this evening. We'll begin with, I have 2 recognitions this evening, and I'll start with one that comes from the New Mexico Activities Association, and one of our very own, our athletic director, Ms. Karen Nugis, was recognized as the 2024 Distinguished Service Award by the New Mexico Activities Association recently at a conference. So, Ms. Nugis, I think we need to get a picture with you. Well, yeah. So come on up and congratulations. Okay, and the next item we have, this is a recognition for one of our school groups, Skills USA National Championship, Santa Teresa High School drafting students. And I believe Mr. Villagana is going to help us with this presentation.
Madam President, school board members, Mr. Dempsey, I'm excited to share an achievement that has brought to our pride of Santa Teresa High School community. On June 28th, 2024, our School Skills USA team made history by winning the gold medal in the career path display for business management and technology at the Skills USA National Championship. Competing against 12 other states, our talented students, Victoria Carrion, Camila Reyes, and Javier Rincon Troitino, demonstrated exceptional skills, creativity, and dedication, securing the first national medal in the history of Santa Teresa High School. This achievement not only highlights the incredible talents of our students, but also reflects the high standards of excellence we try for in our institution. Please join me in congratulating Victoria, Camila, Javier, and his advisor, Mr. Rincon, on this remarkable accomplishment, which stands as a testament of their hard work and the unwavering support of our entire school community. Mr. Rincon.
Hello, Mr. Carmona, help us building up a video. I would like to start with the video first.
Up next, our winners in Career Pathways, Business Management and Technology High School. Receiving bronze from Ohio, the team of Adair, Carter, Payne. Receiving silver from Pennsylvania, the team of Cornier, Spite, and Spiker. Receiving gold from New Mexico, the team of Troitino, Carreon, and Reyes. Congratulations, winners.
With the finalists in Chapter Business Procedure, College Post-Secondary, please make their way to the holding.
Presenting in a few minutes. Guys, I'm scared because it's a video. It's a video, don't worry. Why wouldn't we take a picture? Presenting in a few minutes. Just look. Guys, we're gonna win gold. We're gonna win gold. What are we gonna win? We finished competition. Tomorrow's the award ceremony. Guys, you already know we're gonna get first place. First place. Javi. What place are we getting? Come.
Huh? We're gonna get first place, bro.
First place? Backstage? Backstage, I don't know what place we got, but we're here. Backstage? First winners! First winners in Pro National in Sala High School!
So it was one of our biggest achievement, right? Is kind of like our way to close our 30th anniversary. That we didn't make any promises. The original team was also Ana Duval and Josue Pacheco that also got 7th place out of 40 in architectural drafting. It was also one of our biggest achievements. The team, the chemistry of the students worked really well, even if it was not the original team. But you see the enthusiasm, how they mentalize themselves like we're gonna get it, right? Other 10 more states, they were thinking they would get into the podium. We got a lot of support from Skills USA New Mexico, taking care of like letters from ISAGs, allowing the students to compete, getting their resumes in place, doing their PD tests on time. So we cannot leave any point to be not on that podium. So it was amazing, right? Camila, do you want to say something? Or Javier, do you want to say something as well? Right? Okay, Javier is gonna tell you something, my son.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to start with a little story. There was once upon a time a little village in which depended upon rain for its agriculture, right? Rain hadn't come for months. And everyone said, let's pray so that rain comes. The next day everyone returned, but only one kid had an umbrella ready for the rain. That's called fate, and that's what we had there. we had the umbrellas. We were the kids who were faithful upon rain. I would also like to tell you about what made this team great, and that is not only my amazing teammates over here, but also my dad. My dad is an inspiration for every Hispanic student, and I don't doubt in saying that. I don't stutter in saying that. He is. It's no secret that we cross the border every day just to get to work here. We do that even though it may bring little altercations and bad times. But to every student in that school, which there are little of, but some, that cross the border in hopes of doing better, my dad is that inspiration, and I hope I become someone as great as him. Thank you.
Final words, I would like to tell you guys, every single person here, thank you. You make us believe in ourselves. You make us go there and represent our district, our state, our school. And we're really proud of bringing this medal to our school.
It's really an honor to be here, especially with my teammate and with my sponsor, Mr. Rincon. It's so weird that I can't believe this, although I was just like a substitute for the original team. It's such an honor that I was able to be paired up with such a great team, even if it was just a substitution. I am so proud of us, and as you can see in the video, we were so proud of ourselves over the presentation. It's crazy. It was stressful. We knew we were gonna win, even though our presentation was amazing. They would know. And our setup, let me just tell you, it was amazing too. I'm just so proud of us, and I'm thankful and grateful for everybody who was able to support me, my parents, my family, my teammates especially when things got stressful, my brother who's also in competition with us. And I have no words to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Madam President, board members, that concludes any recognitions I had. I will mention that the admin team has been out at campuses all week. Got to participate in several different back-to-school activities and things of that nature. I want to give a big shout-out to the second grade team at Yucca Heights Elementary because I got to participate in their PLC, and oh my gosh, they already are talking instructional strategy and planning, and you just saw that excitement, and it's great to see the adults with that excitement because you know it's going to translate to excitement in classrooms. So shout out to Yucca Heights second grade PLC team.
Thank you, Mr. Dempsey. Moving on to board member reports. I'm going to begin with Mr. Christian Lira.
How are you guys? Amazing stuff. It's me, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I was in the sun all day, so I'm a little bit dizzy. But thank you. I heard a little bit about your speech. Congratulations. Awesome job. Thank you, guys. That's it on my end.
Mrs. Rodriguez.
Well, ditto to that. It's an honor to hear you all speak, right? And the excitement more than anything. Continue that. And I think you're on the right path. And I think that your classmates seeing what you've all accomplished will also inspire them. So congratulations on that, and of course to the sponsors. And I'm excited that the new school year has started. I think everything has gone well. I know there's been a little bit of things happening at Gadsden with Gadsden Middle School, you know, having the two elementaries being utilized, and then Gadsden High School having the 8th graders. But I think overall it's been great. I just want to ask that everyone be patient. I know the teachers and all the staff are working hard to get it to be perfect, right? But of course there's going to be glitches, there's going to be things, so just be patient and let's all move forward, right? And what's going to be happening eventually at Gadsden Middle School is going to be great. So again, it just takes a little bit of time. But welcome to everyone, and thank you for being here tonight.
Moving on to Mrs. Murillo.
Good evening, everybody. What an amazing way to start our first meeting of the school year. It's super exciting to hear, and you can feel the passion, the way you guys are presenting. And I mean, Mr. Rincon, you have done amazing, and what a role model for your son. And you know, the way he speaks about you, and family is very important in it. And you guys created your own family within the school, so I think that's amazing. I didn't ask, so if you guys can tell me really quick, what grade? Sophomore. Okay. 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 So you still have some time to work with him, so that's amazing, and can't wait to hear what's coming up, because no pressure, but you started like this, right? So it's on. But congratulations, guys. And then also welcome. I wasn't here at the last meeting in person, and so I got finally to see faces and with the names, and saw you guys on camera, but now seeing you guys in person. Welcome to SPED, the SPED department. Just like Ms. Rodriguez said, there has been some little issues, but I want to thank Mr. Dempsey, because I went through some issues with some of my parents myself, and right away, you know, got them fixed within hours. So thank you so much for your leadership. Like, we're starting the year in a really, really good note, and parents are frustrated, but when they see the results, they're like, okay. So yes, again, we ask for a lot of patience. It's hard. It's hard to start the school year, especially with transition from elementary to middle school, or middle school to high school, or from middle schools all the way to high school, because they don't have a building. So I mean, there is going to be a lot of issues, but I think we have a good team, and everybody's on board, and the support that you guys have and the resources, I think that helps a lot. We attended a work session with redistricting our districts, and so I know that's coming up. So I do want to ask out there to the public that if you guys have any concerns with the maps, I have been posting things here and there about my district itself. So if you guys have any ideas, suggestions, we're open to that. And again, like the emails that I've been getting and the calls, it's not that I'm not reading them, it's just that I'd rather not respond, but know that I am reading, and I will direct them to Mr. Dempsey or the appropriate person that respects that issue, that situation. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murillo. I'm just going to keep mine brief. I was telling the young man here as I was watching the video, and it's interesting. I guess we're on the same page because you mentioned a very awesome word, which you said, faith. So even before you mentioned it, I was making a note here watching the video that you guys are example. You know, faith, one of the definitions is complete trust or confidence in yourselves and each other, and you actually demonstrate it. And you demonstrate a lesson to all of us as adults that, you know what, faith is believing and speaking, and we as adults should model that anything is possible. But when you speak it, it's going to happen. So that's awesome. Congratulations. And that concludes my report this evening. Moving on to agenda item number 5, human resource report that is there for public knowledge. No action is required on behalf of the board. Our next item is modification of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the item 6, modification of agenda as is.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez has made a motion that we accept the agenda as is without any changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A motion carries. Moving on to item 7, regular school board minutes for July 18, 2024. I would like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, so with that being said, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as is.
Okay, Ms. Murillo has made a motion to accept the consent agenda as is. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to open forum. Ms. Delgado, do we have any speakers this evening who would like to address the board?
Madam President, we have none.
Thank you very much. Moving on to action items. We do have several this evening. So the first one is action item 10A, selection of architect for Chaparral Middle School, which will be presented by Ms. Vela, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, Ms. Vela will present this item.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent Dempsey. It's my pleasure to bring to you this time the RFP for the Chaparral Middle School replacement project. This is for the design phase. For action. We received 4 proposals. As you can see in the table, it's kind of a little small, but the architects were evaluated and AKS got a total of 509 points. After reviewing the proposals, the committee decided that interviews wouldn't be necessary. So as per the final ranking, we recommend AKS architect. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions, comments, or concerns for Ms. Vela? Okay, with that being said, I would like to make a motion that we accept and approve AKS Architecture as the architect company that's going to be designing Chaparral Middle School. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Moving on to action item 10B, land purchase or donation by Alto de las Flores MDWCA, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Ms. Cadena will present this item.
Good afternoon, Madam President, board members, Superintendent Dempsey. We have an offer or a letter from Alto de las Flores Mutual Domestic Water Consumers Association. I brought this a couple of months ago for discussion. They're interested in either the district donating an acre or buying an acre from the district right on the east side of the San Miguel Special Services Complex. If you look at the drawing, it's a narrow sliver of about 50 feet fronting in New Mexico 192, and they will be using it, they are proposing to use it as building an administration building with a parking lot for their water services company. They've attached a letter, and I do have the gentleman, Mr. Antonio Chavez, president of the Alto de las Flores Mutual Water Domestic Water Association here, along with Bohannon Houston representative David Shields, who is their engineer representative. They did do some research. We have an appraisal as well. The appraised value is $78,410 for the 1 acre. They would have their own entrance, their own fenced-in lot, where they would conduct business. I don't know if you recall, but they used to, before San Miguel was remodeled, they did have a portable behind the building, and we used to rent them the space, and they conducted their meetings and their business there. for several years until we remodeled and they had to move out. I stand for any questions or any questions for Alto de las Flores.
Questions, comments? I do have a question, just clarify, because
Yes,
the
ma'am.
cover sheet does indicate purchase or donation. Are they going to buy from us, or are we donating?
That's what they're asking, Madam President.
So we would decide this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam President, board members, that would be a decision of the board to determine whether you want us to explore a donation or you would accept an offer, I think is what has been made at this point, based on the appraisal.
So we were looking at having them purchase what, do we have numbers as far as how much we would be asking?
Yes, ma'am. They are actually, their offer letter, I have attached it up there, but their offer letter states that they are offering $78,410, which is the appraisal value. I also have the appraisal posted on the discussion format, on the action format. And so they're just basically either asking if the district will donate or if the district will sell. I believe they're fine with either option.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that it was not us donating it to them. That we would donate it to them, or they would give us.
Or they would buy it from
They would
us.
buy it, not for them to donate a random number. So it's clear in my head. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So board members, what do we think?
Madam President, I will kindly accept the donation of $78,000 for 110.
That's your prerogative.
Any other comments?
I agree with Ms. Murillo. I'd rather accept the donation of $78,000.
If I may ask, where would those $78,000 be going to?
I'm not sure, Madam President.
General fund.
Madam President, board members, anytime we'd have to complete the transaction, and once that's done, the board, then it becomes part of budget. You can guide that and direct that as you choose. Obviously, we'll have recommendations as well at the time.
Okay, any further questions, comments, discussion? Mr. Lira?
I guess just to look at, to explore the possibility of a donation. Is it, on your experience, Mr. Dempsey, is it just like a good neighbor or working together kind of deal? Or why would we, or in what situations would we, do a donation of a land?
Madam President, board members, what I've been involved with, and here in Gadsden, we haven't done a whole lot of land donation in my time. But what I've been involved with is usually it's a kind of state-to-state type organization, which a water association could be considered a entity that, as a municipality or something of that nature. That's something that could happen if the board were to select that. What gets a little, as I've shared, as we progress and start looking forward at other campuses and land that the district owns, I do see a likelihood of some future potential sales. And, once you set a precedence of donating, people are going to wonder, well, why not donate to us too? But we always want to be a good neighbor and support and help our communities that we serve. Because at the end of the day, we're all working together to try to serve our families. So I think what I would recommend, if that's what you're asking for me, I would recommend, I think a reasonable offer, which is based on an assessment, is one of the best things we could do. And I think we still are being a good neighbor in the sense we're not trying to push for additional profits, if you will.
Madam President. So I'm looking at the map.
Yes, ma'am.
I see that it would be on top of where the asphalt is, right? That's what used to be. I'm thinking buses, is that?
That is correct. That is the old bus turnaround, yes, ma'am. But that would still, if you see, it's approximately 50 feet across where they would have their line. That would leave the rest of it for us, and we still have access to that side of the property through the old part of the west side of the bus turnaround.
So the reason I ask this is because obviously they're going to have to demolish some of that area, or is it going to remain? I don't think that would remain, since they're going to build some type of facility.
You are
So
correct.
then, would they also like help us, because it almost cuts it in half? So would we have to be, are they going to be liable of making sure that that's stays, or what's the plan for that?
I can bring Bohannon Houston, their engineer, up. Maybe they can answer that question. That's a good question. Mr. Shields?
Thank you, Ms. Cadena. I'm David Shields with Bohannon Houston. Madam President, Board, to answer your question is, in the discussions when we initially thought of this, since that bus turnaround is no longer used, we would leave the one that's there now, and where the line is, basically in half, we would just saw cut it, we wouldn't demo it. That would be the district property. And then the rest, of course, would be demoed. Probably the biggest point on this is to maintain the DOT access in 2 locations. So the school keeps one, and then the association will have the second. And then it would be fenced in that area.
So does that affect us in any shape or form?
Madam President, board members, Ms. Rodriguez. It does not. I mean, it is no longer used. What we would probably ask as part of the sale, because we still have to go through, if you decide to sell it, we still have to go through the formal process, a survey, a sale. And so we could ask that when they saw cut it, build a curb, and then make it a curb and a good division, and it wouldn't affect us, because when we access the property, say for maintenance and stuff, we do use the left-hand side of the bus turnaround, and then we just go straight across and drive on the grounds to access the property, so it really won't. And the reason that it won't affect us to the New Mexico DOT 192 access is there's already 2 accesses there. We will keep one, so it doesn't affect us, and then we have others on the other side.
So I just, one last question for me. So just making sure, so there will be a fence surrounding this building, and who's paying for that?
Madam President, yes, the association would cover all subdivision costs because it'll have to be subdivided and platted. As far as any closing or any title documentation and the survey itself. And we can put those conditions in there, but the association will cover those costs associated on top of the $78,014.
Okay. And then the amount of land that you're asking to purchase, obviously you've thought about how much parking space you would need for vehicles or, events or whatever.
Yes, they have a monthly meeting. As you know, they were former tenants of yours when they rented the portable in the back. There's maybe 6 cars during meetings. And then once the facility is built, if this is approved, then there may be maintenance personnel once or twice a day, if even that, because they would be storing material there. But they're a very low volume facility. And the board meetings are in the evening, so it wouldn't be disrupting anything during school hours at the Special Services Center.
Thank you. Any further discussion, comments, questions?
I just want to make a comment. I think that utilizing that facility or that area would be very good for the community. But I do believe that, having something like the $78,000, 78,410 is something that we definitely, as a district, I think can benefit for our kids. So, considering a fair amount that we come to a conclusion and making sure that, we both have our part.
And that's the state mandates what entity they are, a quasi-government entity, and the state mandates what they can pay. They can't pay above appraisal. That's why they paid for the appraisal, established the cost, and then are offering that today.
Go ahead. Did you have a question?
Thank you.
No, I was just going to say that I would like to ask for approval of action item B, land purchased by Alto de las Flores MD WCA for $78,410.
Okay, Ms. Moody has made a motion.
we set the actual 78,410? We don't know, or is that a set?
That's the
because of
actual
appraisal?
price, yes, ma'am. That's the actual price that they're offering. But anything over and above, like he mentioned, the survey, the closing costs, they pay it. But that's over and above the 78,000. Yes,
Thank you. With that being said, Ms. Smitty has made a motion to accept the land purchase for the amount of $78,410 from Alto de las Flores and DWCA. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining this evening. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to action item 10C, New Mexico School Board Association Policy Advisory 238, second reading, Superintendent Dempsey.
Okay, Madam President, board members, we're on to our policy advisories. So we have a few here. We've got to see these. This is our second reading. We've got to spend a little time in a work session with them, so I hope we're pretty comfortable with them. NMSBA Policy Advisory 238, second reading. This removes some old training requirements. It adds specific training requirements for new board members, a total of 10 hours, and it clarifies training requirements for current board members. Any questions or concerns?
Board members, discussion, questions, comments? Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept action item 10C, Policy Advisory 238. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action item 10D, NMSBA Policy Advisory 239, Superintendent Dempsey.
Sorry, Madam President, board members. 239 and let me find the other. 244 are very similar, okay? And as we reviewed these, we have to take them one at a time. So 239, it really, what it does is it requires live audio and video webcasts of board meetings accessible through the district's website. We already offer that through YouTube. Live webcast shall include a user interface that allows members of the public to submit written or verbal comments. I have two options that I've presented for you, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The policy advisory does refer to the superintendent may develop regulations or procedures related to public submission of written or verbal comments. Recordings of the webcast shall be posted on the district website within 1 week of the meeting's conclusion. Webcast recording shall be available for at least 3 years following the date of the meeting. Meeting notice shall include a link to access the webcast. So all of our notices and agendas now include the webcast link. We've adjusted our website that has the minimum 3-year requirement, and it has a new column that you can access. You'll see the agenda, and right beside the agenda is the recording. So once it's posted, you have one spot to go, and you can see both of those items. So we have that. So let's get to the option A and option B. Here's what I want to emphasize. I think it's very important to understand we're going through, I'm going to ask the board to approve the policy advisory 239. The options and the regulation, I would strongly encourage to leave that as a regulation under the superintendent's preview, because I have a feeling this is going to go through some iterations. We're going to have to play with it a little bit. We're going to have to find a way to make this work that works for you as a board and allows people to provide input and transparency, but doesn't turn us into something that is out of control, right? And we also never want to get into a place where anyone feels like we're suppressing their First Amendment rights, but we also have to manage, this is a business meeting and should be conducted as such. So what I did was put together two options, and this, what I'm sharing with you right now is how I kind of envision it. So option A will utilize what's inside YouTube that allows comments. And there would be a certain time period in which people could utilize that video and add those comments, probably during the board meeting, or we could have it after the board meeting, the recording occurred. Can't be before because the recording doesn't exist yet, okay? And that could be one way to accomplish this. It's a pretty simple way. There's repercussions, there's good and bad of both of it, right? And if we leave the comments on forever, well, then they're available forever. If we type into a little window here that gives them a reasonable time to add comments, and then I think someone who has some input would be able to provide that. I also want to emphasize, option A, during the meeting, we would never see them. These would be reviewed following the meeting. Okay, so that is a little bit different, right, as people are interacting with this. But it does, as a board, I think, give you information of how people feel about particular items, because you'll see, you'll be able to match the comments sometimes with the topic in the video, right? And that might help you a little bit and give you some information. Option B does look a little bit different. Option B would be, we would utilize probably a Google form. They would submit prior to the meeting, and we need a little window to allow a board member, board president, maybe board secretary, to review what's being asked to be read, and then run it through legal if they needed to. And then it would actually, through an AI app, would be read aloud in the board meeting. Okay, so that looks a little bit different, right? And they have to provide their contact information. I tried to model as best I could off the current policy on open forum. And that's really, as we've been through this with some legal counsel, the issue is, are we increasing the gate that's called open forum that allows people to provide input? Option B does. And then there's conversation about the intent. This is all based on statute that was passed in the last legislative session. What was the intent of that? As you read the bill, the language has some vagueness to it. And so I think it's going to adjust and morph over some time. And so we're going to see districts do different things. And I think over the course of a couple years, we'll probably all then adjust to what works best, and it'll be more standard. But I caution the board to try to, I really don't recommend taking action on the options. I love feedback on the one you like. Based on legal counsel, I recommend option A. It's a safe landing spot that we can always change, but it doesn't open you up as a board to pieces of a meeting that's really difficult to manage, almost impossible, if you will. So I don't know if we have any feedback, if someone prefers B or A, or just some thoughts. That helps guide me as I'm building this. We still have an action item for Policy Advisory 239. I think this is this one, right?
Okay. Questions, comments, Mrs. Murillo?
So it has to be based, like, opening for public to come and do their input, even though, I mean, it has to be A or B or something else, but there has to be something in place. On top of what we're already.
Madam President, Secretary Murillo, correct. And the statute does require some type of an interface from online viewers or participants. What I fear as a superintendent is, I don't think there's a lot of, I worry about the wisdom of opening this completely up to an online viewer who may not even live in our community, and then bring up things that have nothing really to do with our kids, and how do you stop that and shut it down without suppressing First Amendment rights? It's difficult. And so that's why, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, let's wade easily into this pool. We'll get it figured out over time, and just be patient with us. And I'd love to hear back from the community. What do they think is important? What do they think is okay? And over time, I think we'll get there.
I'm just thinking because the accountability on our part as, and I'm going to say as parents, I am going to say as parents that if we really want to bring something to the board, then please, by all means, come in and show up, right? I think we all have that responsibility. We already get the calls, right? Because people are watching the meeting, so they are bringing, concerns. Hey, what this item, I don't like this, and so we bring it up to Mr. Dempsey. So we're already doing that. I kind of think it's unfair for our staff, our IT, to add more work. Option A or B, I feel like it's a lot, like the whole reviewing and chat. I mean, it's like that video on Facebook, right? Like the two dogs and then the gate, and they're like yapping at each other, and they open the gate and they're done. So I feel like it will be that. So I think regardless, they're gonna, and I apologize for saying this, but there's always gonna be something to complain about. I don't have an idea. I think if you guys have any ideas, but I would suggest something that it will be easier on the staff, because they're the ones that are putting the work, and an idea on bringing accountability to the public, and like how many members on the community or parents are here present right now.
Yeah, no, I agree with Ms. Murillo. Make it easier on us, and they have a week to submit their comment, or I mean, whatever the time frame is, and limit them online. I think that's best.
Any further discussion, Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. Well, actually, we don't have a choice, right? It has to happen. So I think that looking at both options, I do believe option A is better, because even though that there's going to be someone having to monitor or look at those eventually, but I think it's a way of controlling, in a sense, allowing people to express, but at the same time, it gives them an opportunity to speak, but it'll be, hopefully, people use it wisely and really make comments to make a difference within what's happening in the board meetings, right? And I do agree, unfortunately, at this point, what we currently have, that's why we have open forum. We want to hear the public, right? And we really don't have too much participation on that end. So hopefully, it's a mandate we have to follow, we have to do it, whether we want to or not. So again, to me, at this point, A would be better, but I do agree that I feel that once it starts rolling in, things are going to start changing, because I don't think it was planned out correctly and didn't think about what the outcome of this could be. So I would like to make a motion that we accept the 239 without selecting options A or B.
Okay, Mrs. Rodriguez made a motion that we accept action item 10D, policy advisory 239, with the understanding that
No option A or B.
no option or B, and that would become a regulation so that Superintendent Dempsey can have a say on that. So with that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 10E, NMSB Policy Advisory 240, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Policy Advisory 240, second reading. This deals with executive sessions and Open Meetings Act, and it adds the topic of bargaining strategy for preliminary collective bargaining negotiations to the list of items allowed for a board to go into executive session. As each of you know, there's only a limited number of items that you can discuss in executive session. This adds to that, and I would strongly recommend we do that.
Okay, any discussion, comments, questions? Okay. With that being said, I make a motion that we accept Policy Advisory 240. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action item 10F, NMSBA Policy Advisory 241, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Policy Advisory 241. This is the notification of board meetings. It adds all meeting notifications shall include a link to enable the public to access the webcast of the board meetings. So it really just requires that link to be on the notification, which it is.
Any questions, comments? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept item 10F, Policy Advisory 241.
Ms. Rodriguez made a motion to accept item 10F. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action item 10G, NMSBA Policy Advisory 242, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, 242, this is second reading. This deals with the agenda preparation and dissemination, adds meeting notifications and agendas shall include a link to the webcast of board meetings.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept action item 10G, NMSBA Policy Advisory 242.
Ms. Marias made a motion to accept action item 10G, as you stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action item 10H, NMSBA Policy Advisory 243, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Policy Advisory 243, second reading. This deals with the minutes of board meetings. It adds a copy of any minutes approved at a meeting shall be posted on the district website within 1 week of the meeting's conclusion and available for 3 years following the date of the meeting.
Any discussion? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept action item 10H, Policy Advisory 243. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action item 10I, NMSBA Policy Advisory 244, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Policy Advisory 244, second reading. This is the same, it's identical language, it's another portion of a policy, but it's the same advisory that we approved in 243, requiring an online option for online participants to provide comments.
Any discussion? Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept action item 10I, NMSBA Policy Advisory 244.
Okay, Ms. Moody has made a motion to accept action item 10I as she stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to action item 10J, final one of policy advisory 245, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Policy Advisory 245, second reading. This has to do with superintendent contract. It adds language that limits actions taken by the board between the date of the regular election in which board positions are on the ballot and 60 days after the convening of the newly elected board. Generally, general election is typically is November through March, assuming the new board begins January 1st. So that gives you that there's a window there that no action can be taken, no changes to superintendent contract during that window.
Any discussion? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept action item 10J, NMSBA Policy Advisory 245. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're on action item 10K, Gadsden Independent School District Policy B-0550, BBBE, unexpired term fulfillment, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, since we do have a position on the board that is unfilled, we do need to go through a process, and that's where I would need your guidance on what process you would like to use to fill that position. Historically, in the past, we've done this one other time in my 8 years here, in which we did announce to the community, provided them the opportunity to submit letters of interest, set a special meeting. The board was able to interview them. Now, this has to be done in an open session. It's not something you can do in executive. And then an action then taken by the board. That's how we've done it in the past. I don't know if that process works for the board and their needs right now, but I'd love to take any guidance. Now, we do have a 45-day window, which is around early September. The other things I worry a little bit about is as we're going through redistricting, I want to make sure there's a representative from that area who has some say in that, because we know at some level those districts are going to change a little bit, and we want to make sure they get an opportunity to have some representation there. Any thoughts?
Any thoughts, questions, or comments?
I'd like
Mr.
to make a
Reese?
comment, Madam President. I do believe, I remember when we did that process last time, and I think it's an excellent way to do it, because people that are showing interest are going to be present. And so submitting the letter of interest would be the first thing, and then definitely being able to have some conversation with them. That way we know where they're coming from and what the plan is. So I believe staying with the same process would be great, and definitely going forward with that.
Madam President.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Just a question, because I wasn't here when the other person was here, when Mr. Cano was here, but they submit the letter of interest and then they come and it all happens in one meeting? I mean, I know you received like the letter of interest before, but I'm saying like the interview and then the decision happens in that same meeting, that same day.
Madam President, board members, Secretary Neal, very good question. The last time we did this, we only had 2 candidates that submitted letters of interest. It did happen in the same meeting. It doesn't have to. That's really up to the board. If you guys would want to, you could hold, what you could do is schedule then 2 special meetings, one to conduct interviews, and there would be no action taken. And then if you wanted to, think about those interviews and then come back in another special, you could do that as well to name an individual. You just have to make sure it's done in an open.
Mr. Dempsey, how many candidates do you remember applied last time?
2.
2?
2, yes, sir.
Just keep that process. I mean, whatever you guys want. Yeah.
I just wanted to share, I did reach out to legal counsel, and so I would just want to share with the public and to fellow board members the recommendations. And so just a reminder that we do have to have, it is 45 days, so we really need to set deadlines for ourselves because if we would reach the 45th day, the New Mexico Secretary of Education can go ahead and appoint the next board member. And I did also want to notify the public, since we're on this matter, is that if you're curious who we're talking about, Daniel Castillo did resign on July 2024, just so that you know. And so then I'm going to go ahead and read. So typically what would happen is that the board, I'm going to just read it straight out. The board holds a meeting to discuss the process and deadlines for filling the vacancy, including publishing and posting vacancy announcement and executing an immediate plan, so that, we are putting on our platforms to let the public know whoever's interested in becoming a board member. And then we would receive, of course, completed interest packets. Then there would be a transmission of interest packets from qualified candidates to the board for consideration. Notification of qualified candidates regarding time and place for board interview, which would take place in an open session, probably like a special board meeting. And then we would date for board meeting to interview and select a qualified candidate. And then, of course, the last step would be to swear in the future board member.
Madam President, one of the things, do we have the exact date when it's going to expire? I know you said July 2024, but when would that make it the 45 days? Do we have that currently, or, if we don't, what I'm thinking is that we do need to make it public, right? And making people aware of what the exact date is, the deadline, and then also posting, this is by this time is when we need that letter of intent. And then also making sure that they know, we're going to be talking about the redistricting, them understanding that they have to live within a specific district, which is District 3? No, I'm sorry, 4. Is it 4? I believe 4. Yes. Sorry, I'm 3. District 4, knowing that, what are the boundaries and that they must live in that area in order to represent that district.
Madam President, board members, what the attorney also recommended was in that packet, have them submit their declaration of candidacy, which requires you to put your address on it. And then you can verify the address of which, where they reside.
By when do we need to decide or do the redistricting?
Madam President, board members, the redistricting piece, really, as we move towards November, the closer we get to November, the more we want to be able to give any of our residents notification of changes. So the sooner we get redistricting done, obviously the better. I definitely, I think it's very important to name a candidate to represent this area before we approve that redistricting. I think that's very important.
So I suggest that we, is it 10 days that you do the job postings? Is that 10 business days that you guys do the job postings? I would say that we do the same thing with a candidate, give them a 10-day business job, posting, and then we bring it up, not this coming board meeting, but the next one, so that's a month. That's 30 days. Well, we will decide by the second board meeting, that board meeting, if we do a special session before, that's still in August, right? I think.
Madam President, I believe the next board meeting
Is the
will
22nd.
September 22nd. I believe August 22nd. And so we could do a
The
10-day
29th.
posting. We could, close it and then bring those packets, if you will, back to you. I know that we want a letter of interest, declaration of candidacy. Are there other things you would want in that packet to help guide you in your decision?
I would like to see that a lot of people, they're interested, but they don't know what it comes to volunteer as a board member. So for those people to be aware of the trainings and, the traveling, because I know in the past we had one person that tried to come in and then she said yes, and then it was like, no, it's too much traveling, I can't do this, so then she left. So I think that giving them that awareness that comes with us, and I guess that 10 hours of training, will that apply to them too by the end of the year? So then that means that they will be mandated to go to December, the NMSBA, right? Right. So I think for them to be aware that that is a requirement of them. So I suggest that, and then have the special meeting on the 29th, so we can have a new person by the September meeting.
That sounds like an excellent plan, because I was looking at the policy again for clarification, and it does state, it says, if a qualified person is not appointed to fill the vacancy or a special election is not called by the board within 45 days from the date of vacancy. So the vacancy occurred July 24th, so time has started ticking.
Madam President, board members, I could be a day off on this, no more than that. I believe September 7th is the deadline.
I'm saying deciding by the 29th during that special, that way we can be done within the month of August. So then we introduce that new person at the next board meeting in September, which is the 7th, I think, right?
Yeah.
So did you, Secretary Miguel, just for clarification, did you have a suggestion for a special, a date for a special meeting?
I would say on the 29th, if you guys are okay, or the 30th. Well, the 30th not, because it's Labor Day weekend, so I will be mindful of that too. So we'll say that week of the 26th, of August 26th, if that works for you guys.
Which would be August the 31st? Is that like a Saturday?
No, I'm saying during the week, the 26th through the 29th, because it's Labor Day weekend, the 30th through the 2nd.
Okay.
And then, Madam President, make sure I get clear. What I think I heard you say is, we get the packet out, we'll generate those names for a 10-day period. The August 22nd meeting, the board will get to review those packets, no action taken, come back possibly August 29th for a special session, a special meeting. Board can take action at that time and name a person, and then we would formally swear them in at the September meeting, and that would meet the criteria.
September 5th.
Yeah.
Mr. Dempsey, and they only have, about a year and a half left? Oh, we just started with Mr. Kyle. So did they say that for years, or do they actually have to, after, on the next elections, do they have to?
They will have to run at the next regular election. They will have to run.
Within 2 years? Because, or they're appointed for the remaining 4 years? Because I know for council, if it's a 4-year term, and somebody gets appointed, they actually run, but they only get like for 2 years. And then whatever election comes first, they have to run for that short period.
Madam President, board members, Mr. Lula, very good question. My understanding, I called Mr. Guillen for clarification because I've kind of gone back. I've got some mixed information. What Mr. Guillen shared with me was at the next election, they will have to run.
Oh, yeah, then 2 years.
No, my understanding is November is the next election. I believe so. Now, I could be wrong on that, and I'll get clarification, because
it should be on the next election. That's how usually.
Right. And so that's my understanding. Now, they'll be elected for the remaining portion of that term.
Correct.
Right. They won't get a full 4 years
Yeah, they don't
out of
get 4
that
years,
term.
right? They
Right?
shouldn't.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So what do you guys think?
I agree with what you suggested to Mr. Dempsey. We give the 10 days the opportunity for the applicants to show interest. 22nd, we review packets, taking no action, like you said, Mr. Dempsey, and the 29th, special board meeting, and then announce on the 5th of September. Do we all agree? See? Okay, so with that, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we accept action item 10K, 10K, with the agreement of, the understanding of posting it for 10 days, then receiving packages of letter of interest on the 22nd, which is the next regular board meeting, and then having a special session on the 29th, and then swearing in the new person on the following board meeting on September 5th.
Okay, Ms. Murillo has made a motion, as she stated.
Nice.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I do want to say something. Maybe Mr. Castillo is listening to this, but I do want to say that it's my utmost respect. It was a short time that I was able to work with him, and I know he did many years, and he had his reasons to resign, so thank you for all his just recognize him for the many years of service for the community. So,
Thank you, sir. Moving on to action item 10L, consideration and approval of a resolution to enter into a lease purchase arrangement. Superintendent Dempsey.
Okay, Madam President, board members, we do have an expert in the audience if you have questions, but I'll try to do my best. This first item is a resolution specific to EdTech notes. What you're being asked to approve here is, it's a verification this action be taken in an open meeting with an agenda that's been developed and advertised as required by New Mexico Open Meetings Act. I'm going to read this passage to you. Resolution determining the necessity for lease purchase of educational technology equipment, estimate of cost, statement of sources of funds for lease purchase payments, directing district's municipal advisor and co-bond counsel to prepare lease purchase agreement for the district's acquisition of certain educational technology equipment, and establishing a date for meeting to consider a resolution granting final approval for the lease purchase of education technology equipment. This component also explains the details, including the amount, $2.7 million, listed with specific parties, including Gadsden ISD and Bond Counsel of Cuddy and McCarthy. Requires special meeting scheduled for September 5th, 2024. Timeline and exhibits are provided for your review.
Any discussion on this action item? Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept action item 10L.
Ms. Rodriguez has made a motion to accept action item 10L, approval of a resolution to enter into lease purchase arrangement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to action item 10M, consideration of and approval of a resolution authorizing and approving submission of a completed application for financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, this specific item, these next two have to do with the GO bond and cells. The first item requires an approval of our Open Meetings Act. If you recall, on July 18th, 2024, Gadsden ISD Board of Education passed the Open Meetings Act. This item is a confirmation that it was passed.
Any discussion on the item? Okay, with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we accept action item 10M, a resolution authorizing and approving submission, et cetera, et cetera. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to action item 10N, consideration of and approval of a resolution authorizing sale of school bonds, establishing procedures for the sale and delivery of the bonds, authorizing and approving submission of a completed application for financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority, and authorizing other matter related to the issuance of the bonds. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, this resolution authorizing sale of school bonds, establishing procedures for the sale and delivery of the bonds, authorizing and approving submission of a completed application for financial assistance and project approval to the New Mexico Finance Authority, and authorizing other matters related to the issuance of bonds.
Any discussion? Okay, so
what's our bonding capacity, Mr. Dempsey? Our bonding capacity right now? Is there any?
Madam President, board members, Eric, I might have you join us, and he can give you a little bit of a history. I think this is really good, Mr. Lita. I realize that this is something kind of new to you in terms of just the district. You understand bonds. I'll pass this out, and Eric, maybe you can help me with that.
Sure. Thank you very much. So, Madam President, members of the board, and Superintendent, I'm Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets, and we're your municipal advisor. So to answer your question, I mean, there's two types of capacity. There's the capacity to be able to issue debt under your existing tax rate without a tax increase, and then there's what your legal capacity, and your legal capacity is based upon 6% of your tax base or your assessed value. So your tax base is about $1.2 billion. 6% of that is $74 million. You currently have 39 million outstanding. So you have legal capacity of about $39 million. So you're about 52% bonded to capacity. Now the GO bond authorizing resolution that's before you for $9.5 million, that continues to maintain your debt service tax rate of 12 mils. If you were to issue above that amount, your tax rate might potentially go up. So your legal capacity is higher than your practical capacity. Your tax base has grown quite a bit in the last few years, and so as we come back to you next year to authorize additional bonds to be voted on, we anticipate your capacity going from about 38 million, which was approved by voters in 2021, to 50 million in 2023. So we will see an increase in what voters can approve without impacting your current tax rate.
Any further questions, comments, concerns?
We have a little bit started in high school.
There you go. That's right. Madam President, board members, I do have. Sorry, I apologize. Madam President, board members, I have a little bit of a procedural hiccup, but we can correct it. I need a motion and a second on this one, and then I'm going to ask you to go back to the ed tech notes and give me a motion and a second. I apologize for that. So let's deal with this one first. Right now, 9.5 million in sales, and that's what we're looking at right now at this point. Okay.
So I make a motion that we accept action item 10, N.
Second, Flores. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
So, Madam President, I would ask you then to go back to action item 10L, and I would ask for a motion and a second, and then we can get that taken care of.
So with that being said, I will ask for approval on action item 10L.
Okay, Ms. Murillo has made a motion to accept action 10L. Flores, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
We're good?
Okay, moving on to, we're done with our action items for this evening. We're entering discussion items. First one on the list is 11A, Gadsden Independent School District redistricting process. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, so we've had a little bit of conversation around redistricting. We got to have a work session about it. We got to review 5 different proposals. As we're processing through this, I know it's tough, right? It's hard to make decisions because it does change where people vote and what area they vote for. As we talked about in the work session, I think it's real important to get out to our community. What I need from you is a little bit of guidance in terms of I think he called them concepts. Are there concepts that you feel can be eliminated so we can start whittling this down and I can start scheduling those community meetings?
So the floor is open now for discussion.
For those of you who were not or didn't watch the work session, I suggested back then and we were talking about just bringing 2 or 3 proposals. So I suggested at the last meeting to look at your folders, and I wanted to eliminate from the 5, I think it's D, I forgot him, but I think it's D, Claudia? A, B, I have A and B that I would like to keep. I think it was the last one. What is the last one? E? Okay, so to get rid of E.
And I'd just like to make a comment for those of you who are in person and watching. Thank you to Mr. Carmona. He went ahead and posted those on the website, so if you guys want to follow those concept maps. Thank you, sir.
Madam President, just for clarity, I know one question that came up about La Unión, and it didn't necessarily show on the map. And I talked to Mr. Sharp, and he's available if we need to have if you have other questions for him. But he clarified for me, the reason why it wasn't included in the map, it never moved out of your district, which is, your district is 2. It's always been, La Union's always been, and in all proposals, remains in District 2. So there was no change with it. Just tried to save probably some space on maps, if you will, right? But it doesn't change the community of La Unión.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. So I know that this is a discussion. At this point, will we definitely decide which 2 we want to keep?
Madam President, board members, I know it's a little difficult, right, as you look at these, and it no matter what you do, it changes, right? And what I want to start working on is if you can guide me on what you think we should eliminate, then I can start working on those community meetings and we can get some input, which then ultimately can guide, because at the end, you'll get to do an action item, obviously, but I got to put something, I feel like I've got to gather something to put in front of the community. If I put 5 options in front of the community, I don't think I'll come back with anything that can help you make your decision. If I put 2, maybe 3, I'm hoping you get me down to 2, then at least we show something and then you can utilize that community input to then make your decision.
So if it was up to me, I will say A and B, I would like to keep, and get rid of C, D, and E, and we talked about this, so I don't think I should be repeating myself.
So I'm just reviewing the concept maps just one last time. So, I mean, the floor is open if you want to discuss, but I'm looking.
You said, I'm sorry, Ms. Murillo, you said eliminate D?
For me, what I would like to keep is A and B, just giving those 2 options to Mr. Dempsey, unless you guys want to add another one.
I would definitely like to consider concept D. A, B, D.
A, B, D?
A, B,
A
D?
as in apple, B as in boy, D as in dog. Okay, so those are. What do you think, Mr. Lira?
I can do that.
That I'm the least impacted in the districts, so whatever you guys decide.
So as far as me, I'm good with keeping A, B, and D. So it gives
A, B,
our
D.
community 3 concept maps that they can give us feedback on.
So, Madam President, board members, what I kind of foresee doing now is starting to schedule community meetings in all 3 districts, right? And then I'll present A, B, and D as the options and gather feedback from that. I'll post it in a manner that all of you or any of you can attend if you choose. It'll be a work session, so there'll be no action whatsoever taken, and there'll be no manner in which that could happen, right? Other than it'll be a presentation from me, and then you can hear from your community if you choose to. I'll collect the information either way and get it to everybody so that you know.
All I would ask is, again, thank you for posting on the website, and if we could advertise those opportunities in all our social media platforms, including Remind, have our principals, help us in sharing the word. Thank you. That would be appreciated.
Yeah, Madam President, yes, we can make that happen.
Go ahead,
If I
ma'am.
may add, we definitely need the community to be part of this. Do know that it'll impact, it'll create some changes. So please be present when those community meetings, that was something that we're asking because we want the input of the community. So please be present. Review once, right now they're on the website, you can see. So now that it'll be the 3 options, concept A, B, and D. Be looking at those and seeing what you think, and that way when the community meetings come up, you can have some questions or give your input.
And I just wanted to add something is that for those of you who have seen the recording, or maybe you haven't, this is an excellent opportunity, Chaparral folks, because we get to be represented by 2 individuals now versus 1. And like I shared, looking at it as a positive thing, so that, finally, there's challenges that we have, and so now we're going to have 2 voices instead of 1. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us in Chaparral. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. So thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to discussion item 10B, board work, thank you. 11B, board work session date, graduation requirements, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, based on our last legislative session, there's some components of graduation requirements that we really need the guidance from the board. The board gets to select 2 credits that is local control, and that gives you this opportunity. We would really like to schedule a work session so that we can walk through those requirements. You really get a chance to take a look at those and maybe talk to some parents, talk to some students, see what you think works best, And then if we starting now, we can get this really in place so that we all understand and really understand that this impacts a lot, because based on what the board determines will impact how we staff, how we build master schedules, all those pieces that take a ton of planning as we move through this. So just, it is, I don't want you to feel like it's an enormous task, but it is important to get started early, so it will be a component of our planning processes in the future. Some options to maybe consider, typically we do Saturday work sessions. There's usually about 3 hours. We could look at September, so Saturday, September 7th, 14th, or 21st. We could move into October 12th, or you could do something prior to the meeting or something. What did I put up there? We could, I'd move those to August, right? I think probably with everything we have going on, I would probably push past the August dates, because I think the appointing a member is going to be a little bit more priority than this. And then we could also, like, just prior to a board meeting, I don't know if that works for anybody, we could spend a little bit of time. It may take a couple sessions to get all that information to you, because again, and we want you to feel really comfortable with what we're asking our students to do. And it would impact like incoming freshman cohorts.
Questions, comments?
I have a question. For those requirements, because I've been getting a lot of calls since the last meeting, I know it impacts the question that I'm being asked, and I told them that I was going to ask this publicly. So whatever changes we make for graduation requirements, does that affect sophomores, juniors, and seniors?
Mr. Wogemuth, help us out here.
Dempsey, no, it will not. It only will go into effect for the current 8th graders when they enter high school. That's by state statute. You can't change graduation requirements until they enter. So to Mr. Dempsey's point, this is an important decision because the last time graduation requirements were changed were like in 2009, 2010. So typically these requirements hang around for a couple of decades. So that's why your input and our process is important.
Thank you.
I just had a comment. So definitely, I believe you probably already have in mind, what would be recommended to the board. Those recommendations, did you consider the voice of our students to know what it is that they're interested in? And of course, granted, every community is different, but at the end, it would be the expectation of all high schools, comprehensive high schools, and including our other high schools.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, we have received some preliminary input. I think part of our goal with this work session is we have some ideas on how to get input from the community and the kids. We already have some input. So I think this is an opportunity for us to talk about, here's the general scope of the requirements that we're working with and how we can operate from. Here's some ideas that we have on getting input from the communities. We've talked in academic services. Once you all let us know what's a good work session or a couple of work sessions before board meetings to work on this, then that can launch some other ideas for gathering input ahead of time. So we're looking to set a work date. We have some ideas to get some of their input from different parties, and that way we can have some more data to give you on that day and then really be able to push forward. And then, of course, at the end, we'd probably go back and say, this is what we've discussed. Here's kind of our final packages, option A, B, and C. What's your input on our final packages? So setting this first work day will really help us kind of have a launch pad for all those things you suggested, President Flores.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, Madam President, are there any dates that just don't work at all? That you see something in the calendar? And I'm sorry, those August dates are not going to work for us. I had September 7th, Saturday, September 14th, Saturday, September 21st, October 12th, Saturday, October 12th.
September 14th doesn't work for me.
Okay.
September 21st doesn't work for me.
Okay, we're getting there, right? Do we want to just push to October? Do we just want to say Saturday, October 12th? We'll schedule a work session in the morning? Does that work for everybody?
That works for me. October 12th.
Gives everybody a little bit of time to plan?
Because the week before is fall break, right? October? Okay.
What two dates were you ladies saying that you couldn't make it? What date did you mention, Ms. Murillo?
I said September 14 doesn't work for me, and for her doesn't work September 21st.
Okay.
I can do 20, oh no, because they leave on fall break, right, on the 27th, okay. The 7th? The 7th works for me.
Of September?
Yeah.
So September 7th, or if we do move it up till October 12th, that would be also.
October 12th.
Let me just check October 12th.
So, Madam President, what we'll do is tentatively schedule, so October 12th, that gives us a little bit of time, and then if that becomes a conflict, we'll look for another date. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to, that's the end of our discussion items, and the next agenda item is upcoming board meetings and events. Fellow board members, there's what our next events are, and make sure to plan accordingly. I believe the next board meeting will be taking place at Sunrise Elementary in Chaparral, and then, of course, our upcoming fall region meeting, which will be at TRC. And of course, plan to attend the annual convention that takes place in Albuquerque. Okay. With that being said, I make a motion that we enter into closed session, limited personnel matters pursuant to 10-15-1 H2 of the Open Meetings Act, New Mexico State Statutes 1978, as amended, for superintendents and associate superintendents report on employees and administrative leave of pay, employee grievances, employee issues, review final investigative findings related to the GISD policy. Ms. Delgado, can you please take roll call to enter into closed session?
Ms. Flores?
Aye.
Ms. Lira? Aye. Ms. Murillo?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Folks, we're now in closed session. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a safe trip back home. Take care.
Don't go too far, because several